Perfect.
So what industry do you work in, Tracy?
I'm in higher ed,
Okay.
and I came to higher ed by way of nonprofit. So I'm now at my third organization that has used 365 and Teams. So and everybody's used it differently. So I'm
Yeah.
interested to see, what you all recommend.
Yeah, of course.
Oh,
And then
good.
there's new features the whole time as well. So that it's we all are trying to stay one step ahead. It keeps changing, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. And it's interesting, we go into a lot of organizations for Teams training, and it's interesting how people are using Teams differently across each organization and different industries. So it's great to take learnings from one place and share it with another. And I think everyone's on a really big learning curve. So it's a great space to be in.
Yeah, I think you know, it's a great way to learn and grow, and as long as you're open, I think it's fun. I feel like every time I click, I see something different and something new.
Yeah.
As long as I can remember where I clicked last, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, I think we should start. Rick was going to join us as well, but should we just get started?
And Shelley, yeah, sure.
And Shelley. So Tracy, thank you so much for joining us today on Which Tool When. So my name is Jandy Shannon, and Kelly and I work together at 365 Training Hub. So we do a lot of training around the Microsoft 365 products and also on cybersecurity.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, so with cybersecurity, we just try and keep it really topical, what's happening out there, the trends and the fads, and make it very relevant to people's lives. So we do little short videos. But Kelly, did you want to just quickly say hello as well to Tracy?
Yeah, hi Tracy. um, I've
Hi
been
again,
training.
Kelly.
Yeah, I've been training Microsoft applications for over 20 years now. So, like you say, it's always something new, and it's great. Keeps us on our toes. But it's really nice to talk with other people and see how they're using the same tools. So, yeah, we're all growing and learning.
Exactly. So, in terms of what's happening with file management, Tracy, there are some changes, and there's the new Files apps and Teams, which is making again the way that we work quite different. So we'll go through and share that today with you. But before we get started, a lot of people ask us, what are all the different applications and when should we be using them? So I like to actually take the physical office and think about it in that way and then apply the applications on top of that. So we go into an office, as on the left-hand side, and we can see lots of desks and chairs and set up for everybody in the organisation to come and communicate and collaborate and work together. And then on the top right-hand side, we've got a little picture of a team. So it could be a project team or a functional team or a division, all working together. And then down the bottom, a private office. So if we think about the Microsoft tools and how they fit, if we go back to the open plan office, that is a little bit like SharePoint. So SharePoint is all about enabling everybody to come in and view what is in that space. So all the different files and updates is available across the organization. Whereas a team, on the top right hand side is where you actually invite people to be part of a team and you're collaborating and working together. So that's where Teams is really useful, and we know with Teams we can have lots of different teams within the overall Microsoft Teams application. And down the bottom, we've got the personal office. So this is where it's your space and you do your own work. And that's exactly the same as OneDrive, where it's your files, they're private to you. But like in an office, where you've got your own desk, you can still invite people into your meetings and work together and have discussions. And that's like OneDrive. You can actually still share files with people that you want to and still collaborate, but in a more of a private manner than what you can in Teams. So that's just a little overview of how we see the 3 different applications all working together.
Jandy, this is perfect. I love this. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you're recording this because I'm going to share this with my team for sure. I think this is a great way to think about it.
Yeah, helps it make sense, doesn't it? Because they're quite abstract ideas. So no, that's great, Jandy.
Well, they are, and they have some cross functionality that I think is confusing to
Yes.
folks. So I think this is a great place to start. So thank you.
No problem at all. So then if we move on to the next page, what is interesting is just this month, Microsoft have changed the way that they're actually showing files within Teams. So on the left-hand side, we've got what we're all used to in terms of looking at files, where you'd go into Teams and you'd click onto the little files button on the left-hand navigation bar. And when you did that, it came up with your recent files, Microsoft Teams, your downloads, and your cloud storage, which is your OneDrive or your Dropbox or whatever you are adding in. But now that has all changed, and on the right hand side we can see what it now looks like. So your recents have now changed to home. So this is the home of all your files that you're collaborating on across all the different applications. So we've got home here, and then we come down, we've got my files, which we'll go into in a moment. We've got shared files, downloads, and then quick access. So it looks quite different, but it's much easier in terms of being able to work in Teams all day without having to move out because everything is there in the one place. So we'll take a moment and we'll just go through and have a look at that in more detail. And sorry, the last slide was a little bit blurry. This is much better. So as I mentioned, the Home tab now replaces the Recent tab. So when you come in and click onto Home, you still get all your different applications, so your Word and your Excel and PowerPoint across the top, but you can click on any of these applications and drill down to your files that you've been working on. You can still create new templates with any of these applications as well, and you can still upload. So you can see here the files that Kelly and I've been working on along with Ivy, just listed out. So really just a different way, I guess, in terms of looking at your files and being able to work. And we believe that this is a really good improvement, calling it home and having everything in one place. If we dig a little bit deeper and then we go and have a look at, okay, what is in my files? What are Microsoft meaning by that now? Just let Rick join. Hi, Rick, how are you?
Hello, how's it going there?
All
Hi,
right,
Rick.
thank
How are you?
Rick, we've got Tracy on the line and we've just started and we're just having a look now at how files has changed in Teams as of this month and how it's a much easier way to work, we believe, than the way that it's traditionally been. So Rick, under files, the main change that you'll notice is the home has now come into effect. It used to be called recent, but Microsoft have changed that. And sitting with under home, we now have my files. So my files is actually your OneDrive files. So you can have all your personal files saved within your Teams environment. So you no longer have to go out to a different application to access the files that you're personally working on and you don't want to be sharing across the organization or within a team. So what we traditionally know as the old H drive became OneDrive, and now OneDrive is my files within Microsoft Teams.
Well, that's
So,
cool. I haven't even seen the files sort of option changes, so that's good. Yeah.
These things get sprung on us, so I think it was only just this week.
It's just this week. So Exactly. So really good. And then you can see all your files still under your OneDrive that you've been working on. So you can see the name of the files that you've been working on in your OneDrive. And also if you've shared any of your files with people or people have shared them with you. So Tracy, you know, when I was chatting earlier about having a private office and you can invite people in and have a discussion, likewise here on my files, you can still share files with specific people. And what is really nice is you can see your summary of who you've shared with. And we will go into Teams and have a little look at this in a moment, but we just wanted to show you the changes first.
Thank you. And this is the same as your OneDrive, as you were saying. Right?
Exactly. It's your
Mhm.
personal OneDrive now in there. So the OneDrive used to be accessible on Teams, but it was hidden under My Cloud, where you could bring in all those other different cloud applications. They've really brought it to the forefront so that it's nice and easy to work with OneDrive. So under files, our third little area is shared files, and this is, I think, awesome. So you can click onto shared files and you can see what files have been shared with you and what files you have shared. So again, just a quick way to be able to see what's happening with your files, and also if you just ever want to check the security around a file and who's got access to what, you can quickly come in and have a look here. Again, we'll have a little look in Teams in a moment at that in more detail. And then we have got downloads as well. So sitting here, any files that you've downloaded. But the thing that I actually love the most is you have this quick access now under your files management in Teams. So what you can do with your quick access is you can pin any of your SharePoint sites here. So no longer do you have to find your links to SharePoint, you have them all listed and quickly click onto them. So Kelly and I've got here My Journey. This is a program where we've digitized the whole change journey, and anyone can go and see where they're at on this transition journey because it's in SharePoint. And me, as this is my personal Teams site page, I can just quickly click here because I've pinned it to be able to view. Does anyone have any questions on that, or?
I guess I'm just thinking that this is a really different approach for me, because I'm used to going in through SharePoint and the SharePoint site and looking at my files and looking at activity and, sharing and collaborating through that. But this is really, I guess, a better landing
Yes,
starting point.
I think so. And it stops having you to have on your browser all your favorites. You know, I sometimes used to save my SharePoint favorites on my Edge browser. I've just got them saved in Teams now. So it's absolutely brilliant.
It's reinforcing that whole hub for working. Microsoft are really trying to make Teams the one-stop shop for all our tools, and I think this really helps bring us more into Teams. So
So I can go to quick access as like almost instead of my Finder.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Once you've pinned them. And also we mentioned downloads a moment ago, so you can see all your files that you've downloaded as well. They're all sitting there, which makes it nice and easy to find them.
Can you pin individual files or just team sites?
Individual files.
Oh,
And
no, I think it's just is it just Team sites on that quick access? From what I can see.
I think it's folders actually. Sorry, Kelly.
Okay.
Yes. But let's have a try when we go into Teams. after.
Yeah, we can pin them to
because
top.
it's
Yeah.
literally, we were just saying, Rick to Tracy, this is 1 week old. So
Oh, wow.
we're all experimenting and learning so we can learn together. Um, and you can also have under the files as well more places. So this is where you can have shared libraries as well. So you can see Kelly and I have got some short shared libraries just sitting here. So really, I think it's going to help avoid a lot of confusion around what goes where for people because it's all within Teams. And then they can just work out who they want to be seeing, what documents. So should we just pop into Teams? Kelly, do you want me to go into Teams, or are you happy to share?
Yeah, I'm happy
And
to
we
share.
can,
That's
okay.
no problem.
And we'll have a look at sharing files and how much easier it all is.
Yeah, can everyone see that screen?
Yes, thank you, Kelly.
Cool. Yeah, so here's the home button. So I've obviously clicked on files, and I've clicked on home, and I really like the way, as Jandy said, it's all of your files, but a simple click on Word will just show the Word files. Excel just gives those Excel files. So it's great that we can sort of filter them nice and quickly here. But just going to shared, there was a really nice little feature here that I thought was worthwhile viewing. So as Jandy was showing in the slides there, we've got shared with you and then shared by you. So it's just getting back to having really good visibilities over the permissions of files. So when you're sharing, you can set up the permissions, and maybe we need to look at that. But for example, this one here, Christmas activities ideas, we're a bit out of date. It's in May, isn't it? But for an example, let's go to the 3 dots, and down here it's got details. So I really like that it opens it up. It gives me a little preview of that document, and I can see all the people that have access to this particular file. If I go try this one here, so I'll go to the 3 dots, go down to details, and again I get a preview of the file, and I can see who has access, and I can manage the access from here. So I can actually stop sharing it too. So I like that, it's very quick and easy to sort of, maybe if you're sharing externally, particularly just controlling that access is useful to know. So when we go to share files, let's just go to my files here. I've just got to say an Excel file to share. There's 2 ways you can share it. So you can go to the 3 dots and you can copy the link. So let's share this in a chat. I'm going to copy the link. I'll go to a chat. Just go to my sales team chat group here and Control V to paste it. And you can see that when you paste a file, you can see that anyone with the link can edit, but there is a little drop down here that actually opens up permissions, so you can control it further before you start to share it. So you can share it with people currently in this chat, which could be helpful to restrict the access. And I also like that you can put an expiry date on it. And set a password as well. And of course, this is where you can make it either read-only or that people can edit it as well. And I'm sure you've been using Teams enough between us all that you probably know that when you start sharing files in a chat, you get the Files tab on the right-hand side, and that's a nice way to gather all of those files in one place if you are working on a mini team inside a chat. Just going back to sharing files, go back to where are we, files here.
How did you get that preview? Sorry, Kelly.
Yeah,
preview
yeah, the preview. Yep. So you go to files, and I was inside. So I was in shared.
Yeah.
And yeah, just from the 3 dots. Let's find a file here. Go to the 3 dots and then down to details.
Oh, details. Hang on.
Yeah, and you can see who has access and who has who's sharing it.
Details. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm in the wrong place. You said shared.
Yeah. So
Oh yeah.
So under files, yep, you've clicked on, you've got home, my files, and then shared, and then it breaks it down what's been shared with you and what is shared by you.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just, can you see that then?
Oh, sorry, I've got Teams open on the other one. So you go shared by you, 3 dots.
Yep, down to details.
All I've got is removed from shared thingy. Let me try again.
Yeah, I wonder if you're in the same.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Would it depend on your permissions for sharing and stuff? Like if you're restricted in some way by your organization or?
Yeah, it could be. Often there's different settings across different organizations, isn't there?
Mm.
But this is as shared by you. This should give you visibility of all the stuff you've shared, and then you 3 dots and details. Hmm. Something else which I thought was interesting was from my files, just jumping back into OneDrive. So of course I can share, I can go into a file and I can share any files. Let's just go back to a better example.
Oh, yeah, I think I was looking at one that was locked down or something like.
Oh,
Right.
okay. It was just a bad example. Was it? Did you get through?
Yeah, I found one that I actually created or something, and yeah, the details. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Good. So in this example, I'm just in my OneDrive, and of course I could share these files with Jandy, but what's quite good to know is if I go back a level, just across the top, and go down to my specific Excel courses as the folder I'm working on, I can actually share the whole folder with Jandy. So then if I add more to it, she'll have access to all the files in that folder.
Mm.
So when we're sharing, we can share this way and send the link via email. So because Jandy's in my organization, it will find her straight away. Or if I go to share it externally, I'll just use my Gmail account. Oh, I must have that as an internal address, but it will say, look, this person is outside your organization, and then it just prompts you with that, and then you can actually set up with more details here whether they can view it or can edit it only, and then again you've got the expiry and whether you need to block the download so they can't actually download, they can view only. So it's great to know those settings are there as well. Yeah, so Jen, did you have anything else we wanted to show here? Any questions on anything?
I'll just, I mean, comment that I
Yeah,
think
jump in. Yeah.
it's cool that, you know, that the sharing um elements, I think that's my team really likes that component of Google Drive and you know, what you
Mhm.
can see with you know, shared with you and shared by you, and it's really easy to toggle back and forth. And some of those views that you were showing us, you know, Google provides those, but you know, as an enterprise organization, you can't really keep your stuff on Google. So I think that that's a cool thing to be seeing in Teams, and I'm sure you know, my colleagues will like that.
Yeah, it's catching up, isn't it? So it's a more universal experience too. So just come back to that question we were exploring earlier about the quick access. So I've pinned my 365 Training Hub team site here. And we were just talking about whether you can pin folders here. I think, Rick, that was a question you had, Rick. So it doesn't look like you can pin folders there, but if you go to the 3 dots, you can pin to top. So I've just
Mm.
pinned it up the top. So as you've got your favorite sites here, you can have favorite folders pinned along the top, and that might be helpful. And that may change as well. They might change, you know, the options as we go forward. Who knows? We'll keep guessing. Um,
And
yeah,
the add shortcut to OneDrive, that would that show up in my files or?
let's click it and see. Yeah, so let's see. Add well, OneDrive is my file, so I'm not sure about best use of that. Um, what's interesting though is the sync, and actually, I'm sorry, I don't know. I haven't really explored that one. Have you used it? Have you used it much yourself?
No, I was just curious because I think that for me that this is I'm getting some different perspectives on this. So to see that up there where I'm just understanding that my files is my OneDrive, just wondering how that
Yeah,
worked together.
Yeah.
yeah, that's
S-
interesting.
Yeah, so when you open, like where Kelly is now next to the sink, and you open in OneDrive, it takes you to the traditional OneDrive application that we're all used to. So it mirrors exactly what we've got here. But actually, I hadn't noticed what you just pointed out, Tracy, further down. So I'll have to have a
You have to play with that.
play with that.
Yeah, the sync one is interesting. I don't know if anyone uses the sync button, but what that will do is sync to your Windows Explorer. So down in Windows Explorer, and you can sync any of your SharePoint sites. You'll see that sync button along the top of your Teams channels as well. So when you open Windows Explorer, let's bring it across. Is it a bit of a mess? Let's have a look. Putting my, here it is. Yeah, so we've got lots of different icons down the left-hand side, and these unusual icons are our SharePoint sites. And you can see I've got 2 OneDrives, so they have are syncing here with these. So I can access my files this way through the old File Explorer. If some people are used to this sort of old school style and find it hard to get their head around the other way of working. So, you can sync these files and access them through here, which is quite nice too. And also access your SharePoint sites through this File Explorer too. Once you hit sync, they'll appear here as an object. Yeah, that's, I think, pretty much it. I'm just looking at the time. So as a whirlwind around Teams, the new part of Teams, and just SharePoint and OneDrive. So I like the idea, Jandy, that OneDrive is your own office and you can invite people in. So I think the key thing is with OneDrive, those are your files. You own those files. So then no matter where you share them, you are still the owner of those files. That's a key thing. Yeah, brilliant.
Nice, thank you, Kelly. Any last questions before we get to the end of the session?
Not from me, but I really appreciate that tour. That's so helpful for me, and I can't wait to share that information. And I'm looking forward to part 2.
Oh, that sounds good.
That
Me
sounds
too.
good.
I'll answer all the questions then. Brilliant. Hey, thanks, Tracy, for joining us.
Thanks,
Thanks, Rick.
Tracy.
Really great for your support. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
So our business runs lots of different drives still. Do you see, hosted on site and whatnot? Do you see more and more functionality leading to more and more businesses just using this? Like, I haven't been involved in small businesses for a number of years now, and yeah, it seems like large organizations have usually got legacy sort of drives and file structures and infrastructure. Do you see this working well for large businesses as well?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a massive
Really good.
move. Yeah, as they've all sort of upgraded to 365, they've all slowly rolled out OneDrive, and now the next big thing is to move all those SharePoint, all those files on the file servers into SharePoint, into the cloud, and then access them this way. So that's a massive project for people, and yeah, people are moving more and more towards this model. Yeah.
And Rick, the other thing that was really nice that we were chatting to Tracy about at the start is cybersecurity. All this is in the cloud. Teams is in the cloud. It's all safe. And we know from Waikato DHB, so that Tracy, that's one of our big kind of hospital regions areas in New Zealand, they got attacked through cybersecurity. The one thing that enabled that organisation to keep working was having Teams.
Yeah.
Because they could log on through their phone or their iPads and work from home and continue on their day-to-day operations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, and the other thing is, I think just with with moving stuff onto that SharePoint model, just what we were talking about there, Rick. There are files which don't move easily, so often finance will ring fence their files because there's too many links and old macros in them. So it is a very big job. So not all files do go on, but yeah, people are trying to get their organisations onto making the most of all of the tools, and so that's the thing,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Absolutely. And then they move into Power BI and all those other fabulous tools that are part of the Microsoft 365 suite. So everything
Yeah.
starts talking together and just
Yeah.
working well.
One of the simple questions I've got is, at the moment, my desktop, if I'm working on projects myself, I often, put them on my desktop, which is linked in, not necessarily to our OneDrive, but would it be an idea to create a folder on there that I use instead of the desktop, and then it sort of syncs? Is that what you'd suggest?
You could have a shortcut to OneDrive on your desktop.
Yeah,
Perhaps. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. Yeah. The
Bring in
desktop's not good practice.
What's that?
The desktop's not good practice to store things
No,
on.
that's right. And generally, by the time I publish something, I put it somewhere official, but it's just the risk of losing, the risk of,
Exactly.
and
just
the,
accessing it quickly too. So I know what you
yeah.
mean. Desktop's a lazy workaround, isn't it? But yeah, OneDrive shortcut on your desktop, that might be the way around, and then it all syncs beautifully for you.
That's a good idea. After all of this, seeing all of this, I definitely need to do that.
Yeah. Well, look, I've got another 1:30 meeting, so I've got to run, but I really appreciate you coming along, and great to meet you, Tracy. Thanks.
Yes.
Thanks,
to have you,
everyone.
Rick.
Good night.
Bye-bye, Tracy. Bye,
Thanks.
Kelly.
See you now.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Emma.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.